Roy Saper. I started Saper Galleries in downtown East Lansing, 1978. I must have been very young, it was so long time ago. And now we're celebrating our 35th year in 2013. And it's a local business that makes available and brings to people in the community works of art that they want. In fact, it's interesting, the very first exhibition I had when I started many years ago was to ask public figures, newscasters, members of Congress, and other locally well-known people, ask them if they could have any work of art they wanted, or a work of art by any artist, who would that artist be? In other words, ask them, what do they want? And then based on their responses, I went out and I bought works of art that matched exactly what they wanted. So the whole purpose of our existence is to bring people in the visual arts works of art that they say they want. And that's probably the best example of a local business that serves people what they want, determined by local determinations, rather than somebody in a corporate office in a large city in another state. So Saper Galleries has truly been local since our start. We hear and respond exactly to what people say they want. And for 3 decades plus, it's worked. We're still here, and we're here for the long haul. Saper Galleries, since we started, every year supports more than 100 up to 200 local organizations, charitables, nonprofits, schools, and various entities in a number of ways through our direct contributions, our writing our checks, serving on boards, providing direct assistance to those organizations. We put our money where our mouth is. Our mouth is supporting local opportunities, local people, local enterprises, local charities. If you look at the boards of the dozens, if not scores, of charitable organizations in the mid-Michigan area, who serves on those boards? It's the local business owners. Who supports the local community, the museums and other organizations? It's the local business owners. I know the difference because in supporting organizations at Michigan State University and elsewhere, I've knocked on the doors of some of our corporate neighbors, and they said those decisions are made nationally or they're made once a year, and they really can't be of help to the local organizations that the local business owners are really supporting. Man, we need to do all we can to help those local businesses, because the better our local businesses do, the better our communities thrive. We didn't have local businesses, and everything was defined by national chains or corporations, every community would look the same. And it's so sad now when I travel, when you travel, when we travel around the country, we get on some main roads and we're thinking this could be anywhere in America. There's nothing that sets this local community apart from any other. But in the mid-Michigan area, we're fortunate that we have music stores, we have record stores, we have bookstores, we have art galleries, we have craft galleries, we have local delis, local restaurants, and that's what really defines a community. If one is satisfied going from chain to chain, then all power to them, and that's beautiful for the people who want the consistency. But for people who want freedom of choice, for people who want a broader range of options made available to them that are tailored for a local market, you're going to support local. Yesterday, I dined at a local restaurant, and I felt a little badly when I got there because there are 2 other tables beside mine. But I was thinking, if this was a chain restaurant in a large mall, it'd be packed, because people are quick to think and respond to the national advertising that brings them to the chains. But sometimes we forget to think about maybe our next door neighbor who owns that local restaurant that's been surviving but not thriving. So if we could do more to support the local restaurant, the local store which sells office products or supplies, the bakery that's from a local store rather than a chain. There's so many ways we can provide support to the local businesses that then in turn support our local organizations and others. I think it'd be better to support local business owners than corporate shareholders. There's a big difference. And there's so many studies which show that you invest $100 locally in a local business, then probably $45 to that 100 is going to stay right local. Whereas if you invest $100 in a corporation, 13% will stay locally. That means 87% is being sent to Delaware or New York or elsewhere. Why not keep it local and help out our neighbors? When we help out our neighbors, we help the state, we help all of us. And we're all in this together to go from survival to thriving. Support your neighborhood. It just makes a lot more sense. Not only economically, but in terms of supporting our community, sustainability, your neighbors. The more we're supporting our neighborhood and the residents in our community, the less we're going to have critical issues with respect to taxes, tax revenue coming to the community. We're going to have fewer people on unemployment if we can give more jobs to people locally. Just the whole system, the whole economic system works better when we're supporting our neighbors. It just makes a lot of sense. Why not go with what makes sense? Everyone has the power of innovation and the will of creativity, and they need to just kind of like loosen up, let go of these chains, and take that crayon and go back a few years, and you'll realize that anyone can be a child, and the child is beautiful because the child is totally creative without the inhibitions, without looking over the shoulder, or without concern or regard for what somebody else is going to say and judging them. And we need to let that child out and relax and recognize the full potential that each of us has. I hear from people who are uncertain about making an art selection. They want to have their designer help them, or their next door neighbor help them make the decision. I'm thinking, man, if you were able to decide which shirt to put on, or what pants to put on, and what shoes to wear, and what clutch to carry under your arm, I think you can decide for yourself which work of art you like. People need to relax and feel more certain and confident that they can do anything, Collaboration is a wonderful instrument and a wonderful tool, but people should give themselves more credit in their own ability to make selections, to make determinations, to make judgments, to make the decisions that make them a person, that make them unique. The creative element is in all of us, and one thing that we get from collaboration, of course, is innovation. The more people we get around the table, the more ideas that can be generated. And the way toward entrepreneurship, developing new ideas and new businesses, is creativity and innovation, bringing minds together. Collaboration is great in a community. Collaboration is what one gets when we bring people together to see new ideas, to work together, not in competition, but work together to increase the bar, make everybody better off, provide greater opportunity. In Old Town and downtown Lansing, you see wonderful examples of collaboration, of creating an entire community, a new downtown, Old Town, a new downtown effectively, that brings people together, the creative people, the people who are able to think beyond the standards that otherwise we'd be stuck with if we weren't moving in new directions. The beauty of our younger people today is their collaborative efforts and coming together and thinking new directions, new ideas, new ways to create, which we see in technology every single day. It's difficult to keep up with it. These are such exciting times, and all of these initiatives are driven locally. They're all driven locally. And that's what's exciting about this community. The greater Lansing, the mid-Michigan area, is filled with the creative types that are bringing to our community fantastic opportunities in the arts, in the sciences, and in education, in opportunities. We live in such a perfect time in terms of the wealth that's being brought to us, not measured in economics. That's short-sighted when we're only thinking the bottom line. The wealth that we get is in making available opportunities for people, and we think about sustainability, keeping things going. And when we think about the earth, we're thinking about our children, and we're thinking about the future. When we think about what's coming out of those smokestacks and what we're doing with resources that are so scarce that we use within our own businesses, we're thinking about the long term. And thinking about the long term is very healthy.
I can't help but think that art in some way is part of the healing process. The ability to stop and appreciate, to savor, to enjoy the aesthetics, to smell the flower, to see the beauty that exists in everything. I don't understand how anyone who is able to open themselves up to that would continue being an inconsiderate person. How would you speak to art as being a valuable component to adding meaning to not only to our lives, but maybe it holds some of the answers to our moving forward?
Well, art allows us to slow down and to think and to recognize that art in all its forms is a form of communication. And we need to slow down and hear what others are saying. And in this respect, it's not only the visual arts, but it's in prose and poetry, it's in theater, it's in dance, it's in film, and all forms of writing. I was in the West Bank in the Palestinian territories recently, and I stood in front of the great walls, or barrier or fence, depending on what side of this wall you're on. And the sense of humanity that I see from viewing the art that I have in my mind now, painted on the walls from the Palestinians who are effectively saying, just like Ronald Reagan did, tear this wall down. So art is a form of communication. Art speaks to today just as it did 1,000 and more years ago. The beauty of art is it's a form of communication from people in our community sharing with us what their feelings are. And when we stop and close the rest of the world and we take in, accept, and bring ourselves within the art that individuals are sharing with us, it makes us think. Art is a very powerful medium, be it theater or dance, prose. And if you're reading a book and your wife is calling you to the table, but you're so engrossed in that book that you're not hearing you're being called, that means you've connected with the thoughts, the ideas, the stories, maybe the dreams, possibly the passions of another party. You're intrigued, but you're brought in, you're living the world that an artist has communicated. And the beauty of that through all the forms of art that are widely available in our community is a beauty because it shows there are other ways than the natural world, which sometimes, unfortunately, we're being bombarded with on the news. So art opens our windows and our doors to forms of communication that gives us an exposure that perhaps we would not have received otherwise. I love the talent that artists have. I admire the talent. Looking at a great work of art, though everyone has their own interpretation of what that might be, is so beautiful because we're connecting with somebody in a very powerful way, in a way that can be so meaningful that it might affect our behavior and our interests, our beliefs, our feelings, our emotions in the future, how we act and what we do, what we support, what we like, how we love. There's so many aspects of the arts that can communicate and change a person. And if one has gone to a theater, a performing arts facility anywhere in this country, and if they've cried or thought about it, the production as they left, if they've emotionally been touched by or communicated with in a way that makes them think about what they just experienced, then that's a form of art that's been successful. And that's the beauty of the visual arts and arts in all other forms. And that's what we have that's provided largely from local enterprises, local owners who are not being rewarded other than the satisfaction of connecting with people who will attend their productions and attend their shows or their exhibition. You have to admire all those who are promoting the arts in the greater Lansing, the mid-Michigan community and beyond. Nobody's telling them they have to do that. They create shows, they create exhibitions, they hire playwrights, they create musical compositions, they create performances for our benefit. And what a great opportunity we have to participate, enjoy, learn, and grow from those arts experiences. This is all local. I think the more exposure we give to the arts, the greater our sense of humanity and understanding will be, support of other people. It might make us slow down and think, make better judgments in what we do day to day. In some respects, people get that from their religion or their beliefs within themselves. For others, it's through the arts. But ultimately, it's through community. It's through community. And if we're a part of a community and we give to that community and we share in that community, we collaborate, we help foster and grow that community, we're going to be a better planet, one community at a time. When we think only of ourselves, we're not doing anybody any good, most particularly ourselves. The more you share, the more you actually benefit. And anyone who has served on a local board of directors or commission or organization would understand that very well. I don't live with any certain philosophy other than think about the other person. Think about the other person in your conversation, in your actions, what you do, what you don't do. And think about how we can all do something that benefits somebody else, maybe without their even knowing. And it doesn't always take a checkbook to do that. I've said to my co-workers at Saper Galleries, I've said to my sons that one can try and make an effort every day to do something that benefits someone else, where they don't even have to know you did something for them or that benefits them. I think everybody, every single day, can do something that benefits somebody else. It costs you probably nothing in terms of dollars and cents, or a very small amount, but somebody else can get the benefit. We should pass it forward or play it forward, if you will, but not just 1 or 2 days a year. Why not every day? We don't have to have Valentine's Day 1 day a year. Have it every day. We don't have to celebrate the gifts of the December holidays, Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah. Celebrate it every day. We should be celebrating every day. We should see the good that's around us. And in those cases where we see something that could be done better, well, do something about it. Don't walk over it. Stop, stoop down, and see what you can do to make it better. If people practice that, if everyone practiced that, every single day, trying to make somebody else's life a little bit better, giving somebody something that they had no anticipation of receiving, you're going to feel great, they're going to feel wonderful. In fact, it's basically how we operate at Saper Galleries. It's taking the golden rule and going many steps beyond that. We give people more than they could ever believe they would receive. We give them way more than they'd ever receive. If they acquire a work of art by an artist, then if we can get a book about that artist signed by the artist, then we'll get that and give it to you as a gift. When that artist is going to be in town or in the area, we'll invite you to a private reception or an event or a dinner, or have some opportunity so that you could meet the artist. If you called us and said you wanted something, there's no way we'd say no. We just ask what time you need it. And there are numerous cases. I could write volumes in cases where we have helped somebody who everyone else would say no. And when all other art galleries or businesses say no, what happens is they call us and we take the business that would otherwise go to those who said no. It's far easier to say no, but it's much more rewarding to say yes and help someone. We are inundated at work with so many projects, particularly art appraisals. It is one example. It'd be far easier for us to say, we just can't appraise your artwork, we're just too busy. But I also recognize that if we can't do it for you, who are you going to find? You're not going to find anybody else. So we have to do it. So we feel pretty much a mission to give to people what they want, plus a little bit more than they thought they would want or recognize as possible. And think about it in a business sense. If you don't say no to anybody who calls you, and you always deliver more than the client would expect, you're going to thrive. You're going to be in business, as we have for decades, because people know you're reliable and you always come through. And there's nobody who will say they called Saper Galleries and we didn't deliver or we couldn't deliver. That does not exist. You know, the tens of thousands of transactions, I think I can comfortably say that we followed through and we came through for 100% of them. And so if there was a philosophy, that would be it, as espoused not by words, but what we actually do on a daily basis. If you want something Thursday, we'll probably have it done Tuesday. And my desire is to get your project done before you even think about calling to ask how we're doing on whatever that project is. Having artwork created, commissioned for you for above your fireplace, or finding something special, having an artist create it for another room in your home or your office. We're always going to deliver way more than you bargained for, way more than you thought was even possible to receive. That's how we operate as a business. That's how I operate as an individual. If more people did that, what a great world and community we would have. One community at a time. It's a big planet, and unfortunately we've had wars for thousands of years. I think there are wars probably in the Bible, whoever wrote the Bible. But we can do so much if we think community, if we support our neighbors, support our friends, support the local organizations that are doing so much good for those who have the greatest needs. That is so powerful. It's so supportive, not only of those who have the needs, but it's enriching to oneself. And usually those efforts can cost very little. The more we do locally, the more we support our own communities, the better off we all are. It's not just spending, it's just thinking about the next door neighbor, and sharing what you have when you have something you can share. I think everybody has something to share. People need to be willing to accept change, and maybe it's efforts through films and videos and stories. I think we have an education need where we have to provide more outreach and providing information to people to show how they can get by with, if not less, in different ways, particularly with respect to consumption. Americans are gluttons for consumption. I mean, we effectively are driving with our foot to the floor without thinking. And if we're not thinking, we're unwittingly leaving things to our children to figure out for us. It's only in America where we produce bottles to hold water rather than using something that we don't have to continue to buy. But then what's worse is we created this, we manufacture this, we take all the energy used to create this, and then we throw it away. Does that make any sense? That makes no sense. What are we doing? But America has always been the richest country, and so we spend like there's, and we utilize as though there's this bottomless extravagance where we can afford anything. But in reality, all our resources are fixed. Not everything is limitless. Water is not limitless. We have to think, what's going to happen if we use it all up, whatever it is? I think we can be smarter. I think we can be much better consumers if we think more and think not about immediate gratification and ourselves at the moment, but think of people, think of the long term, think of the macro costs, not only our immediate gratification of satisfying our demand now at any cost. We can do better, and maybe we just need to be on an education realm that promotes greater awareness and thought.